It's a roadkill. Now if you pick up a trophy deer hunting, you don't want to cut it down this far. When you gut her out, you start and cut up right to the buttocks or whatever here. Bring the incision down to the breastbone so that if you want to get a full shoulder mount, you don't ruin this in here. You'll have to cape this part out, not the way I'm going to do this one. Knives that you use that I suggest to gut it out are something like this one. Dave, if you could zoom in on this. It's got a little gutting hook on it. This edge is dull. You take it, you make a little incision, and then rip the skin. That way you don't accidentally cut the intestines. And if you cut the intestines and don't have a knife like this, you may change your mind and get one because it stinks and it's a mess. Now right off the bat, we're going to cut off the forequarters, or not the forequarters, but the four legs here because there's no use in keeping them. It makes it easier to skin them. This is Sam, Dave Nolan's dog. Loves legs. Okay, you can hold it for a while, Dave. Okay. We're going to start skinning this now. And I make my incision. There's the white color, and then it changes to the tan in the back. I'm going to basically make the cut up in there. Now it's recommended that if you can take and start your skinning, and then after you've got it started, pull it all off by hand. Sometimes it's pretty tough though. Another thing I'd like to mention is if you're hunting down south, this is especially for Kevin, who is down south, if you get a deer and it's warmer weather, keep in mind, I said, when you're field dressing it, start at the chest cavity and go up to the buttocks. And if it's warm out, field dress it, drag it out of the field, and at the closest place you can get to get some bagged ice, throw it in the cavity. Leave the hide on till you get to where you're going. The ice in the cavity will just keep it cool and won't let it spoil on you. Anyhow, I'm just cutting around leg here to start the skin down. Something else, when you're field dressing it, you may roughly field dress it and then bring it back to somewhere where it's a little bit more convenient, where you got water and everything. You got to wash out the chest cavity and everything. It's a good idea anyhow, because there's some gross stuff that ends up inside. Another thing you got to do is remove the rectal tract. Doing that, you'd have to split the pelvis here. You'd cut right, you can see a little seam here right between the two hindquarters. Cut the meat down through the bone and then gently saw in here. You'd have to take a knife and carefully cut around. There's the urine sac and the rectal tract and all that. Carefully cut it out. If you bust the urine sac, you got to wash her out real good again. These are your tenderloins in here, so you don't want to get them full of that piss, Kev. Now, I was saying you can almost pull it off sometimes. And if you can, you're better off. You're going to save the hide, because when you're skinning it down, you have the tendency to hack a lot. Okay, I'm going to go from this one hindquarter, and I think we'll cut the head off now too, because there's no sense in leaving it on, and it'll allow the thing to drain a little bit better and be easier to skin.
You're going to skin
Heather.
roadkill.
Yep. Deer roadkill.
Kev, that's Raul in the background. He's got to get over here in the picture.
No, you don't.
Yeah, he does.
You don't need nothing.
I want to show you what old looks like. You got to look at Raul.
No. Hey, what?
That's a deer.
That's a dog. A deer what?
He lost his head. Or she lost his head. By the way, this was a pregnant doe and had 2 buck fawns in her.
Really?
We're being taped, really.
That's for you.
Hey, deer. Hey, look at the deer.
Okay, now we'll take the other leg. Dave, I don't know if we have to tape the whole thing here of cutting this. It's the same as that. Once I get this done, then we'll take a look and we'll peel it down and just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But hope this ain't lead-based paint in the barn. It's falling on all this. Then we'll have to say, Dave Nolan, your deer's got blood in its ass.
Hey, it wasn't shot. That's a roadkill.
I know it. I knew it was a big deer, but I didn't know it was going to take the barn in.
Easy there, bud.
Follow. Wait. I found it. Are you gonna go get one for me? You go get
Now,
one,
some guys, they
buddy.
take and,
Buddy.
they loosen up the hide,
Buddy.
tie this up in a tree, they'll gather the hide, and if they don't care to keep the hide, they'll tie a rope around it, tie the rope to their trailer hitch, and then run off. That will allow the hide just to be pulled off. You'll lose a little meat, but not a great deal, and not a great deal of good meat. We got to skin back these 4/4 a little bit, make them easier to get. If I get that back down too far, it'll be a ditch, because it'll be covering it up and be in my way.
Oh, go get your. Are you gonna go get one? No. This. What? Hey, tonight. We're going.
Try to get these skinned out before you get the thing skinned all the way down the back, because they're a little harder to do. Sometimes, when you get up to the neck too, the neck's a bitch because for some reason there's no fat on it. It's really hard to skin out. A nice fat deer, so it's coming apart pretty good.
What's the fat?
You know, if I cut myself in a cry, I don't want you to tell me about that. We haven't got to the Yukon Jack and haven't killed a case of beer yet. That comes to when we really butcher it.
I was gonna say we're only skinning it now, Mike.
Yeah.
So if the photography falls off in this movie, you'll know
Yeah, if
why.
somebody starts snoring back there by the camera or here, you'll know what happened. Too many sodies.
Okay, you can see
And
where.
now, down south you may not realize this, but my damn hands are cold and I gotta quit for a minute because it's chilly out here.
What's going on down here?
That sounds like Gunky.
Roadkill!
Kill, alright.
Yeah, Kev, come here. We got a couple spectators. Come here.
Filming this for
This is Bob. Bob wants a piece
crying
of
out
this deer
loud.
right now. Here, Bob.
Go get him, Bob.
Here, Bob.
Have a
Boy, am I
taste.
hungry.
Hey! Oh! Oh, he likes this guy because there's hair on it.
Here, I brought some something to cauterize those
Oh,
wounds.
yeah. Well, we've been working on that. We get better when we get the butcher in here.
Yeah?
The reason we're videotaping this is
So Kevin can see it.
Kevin knows how to skin it and butcher it because the Alabama season's quite long. Went out this year, but his wheelchair failed on him, got stuck in the mud.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Kev, is that true? How you doing down there, buddy? Good to not see you, but at least talk to you.
Come on, Gunk, you gotta get into
Hey!
this.
Alright, I'll get over here.
This is Dr. Gunk. He tried to save this animal. I got fur in my
No,
beard. here.
I didn't either. I'm just witnessing
Well, he gave it
this.
to mouth in the wrong end,
I'm
but
just, hey, it's my job. Nice. Paint.
Hear that, Bob? He's taking the paint off the barn.
Hey, that's whitewash.
Yeah,
What's that?
opening lead base.
No, just a little line. Oh, nice.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Heather, that's gunky.
Where?
Right here. That's me. That's me. Hi, dog.
That's not nice to call Becky or Heather a dog.
No.
Sam knows there's another bone.
That dog.
Pretty soon we'll be all naked.
That would get another view.
Yeah, that wall is cracked. We had to plaster that up.
Haven't seen some
Yeah.
for a while
I
now.
got my plumber's pants on. Kev.
Plumber's pants. You watch that home repair that I told you about?
Oh, yeah.
watched it a couple
Home
times.
improvement.
Tim Allen's on one night, and his assistant, I always forget his name. He's bent over and cracked his head.
Whoa.
And Tim Allen's got a trowel on his head. He said, okay, the next thing we're going to do is show you how to plaster this.
Well, Kev, you know my beer belly's getting in the way. At this time, I gotta improvise.
Daddy, Becky's calling your name.
I hear that. I don't know. There's at least a couple of daddies around here. She might be calling somebody else.
No, she's calling you.
Haven't lost your touch, have you, Mike?
I've done one or two of these things. Haven't done that many this year, though, really.
I've got a Sawzall that would work great for that.
Oh, really?
How about a
I
sander? You
got
got a
the
belt
chainsaw
sander?
in the back of the truck.
That would work bad.
To sand the fat off.
Oh, and I took the chainsaw to some horns one time. Boy, was that a mess. There's brains all over the place.
You're going to want to rent this tape down the range too, I'm sure.
Probably
See the videotapes they rent down there?
No.
Get a couple of spin racks of videotapes on hunting and shooting.
Oh, yeah?
Home
Hey, I'll
defense.
have to bring David's down. He found some in the garbage. Really great.
Got
Super
applesauce
X-rated.
or anything on it?
You can't eat that deer because they have blood in it.
Yeah, have to wash it off.
Let them hang for a while. So where'd you find this beauty?
I got it off Barrington Mud Hank Road.
It's one of them wealthy deer.
One of the ones Lily didn't
You
get, huh?
got deer crash. Deer crash every time.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah, this deer cost 2 cars,
Pooch?
a limousine and a cheapo.
Scratching you, have they? Nobody been paying
Hey,
any
Sam.
mind to you, huh? Poor doggy. Oh, poor doggy.
She's eating a leg
Oh,
bone.
poor doggy. You'd like to have a bite.
Kev would also like to mention, well, I don't know if you live in the country now or not, but some of this fat that we've taken off the deer, you can take and put it like in an onion bag and use it to, feed the wild birds, woodpeckers, chickadees, stuff like that, You put a little onion bag and hang it to the tree, and you just won't throw it in the garbage dump.
Recording.
Okay. This is the second chapter of what the hell we do with a deer, whether it's right or wrong. Okay, tonight we're going to take out what we call the fillets. That's the real tender part of a porterhouse steak. It's found in the inside of the chest cavity. It's right here and here. We'll also be taking out the backs, which is the other side of a porterhouse steak. And we'll be taking the forequarters off, and hopefully we'll be butchering these tonight. You're getting everybody in this movie here. Now, Gene Towsey from Cincinnati, Ohio, is, I don't know if he's looking at the crotch of this deer or what the hell he's doing, but
He's used to looking at bloody things.
he's helping here.
At least it wasn't
Oh,
female.
is that a goodie, huh?
Ooh, that's
Okay, we'll take that in the house later and clean her up. We'll put it in a box right now. Get the other one out. I don't know if I'm standing in my own way, but... Just so that you know that this is a good piece of meat inside here. A lot of people throw it away. They don't even know what's in here. But if you remember looking at a T-bone steak, there's a larger side and a smaller side. This is a smaller, tender side of the T-bone steak. Now when we go in the house, we'll clean this up. Cleaning it up means washing it, means taking all the fat and all the tissue off of it. Okay, we got both of those out now.
Let's see what those two look like. Pull them up and show them to us.
Okay. They look like a couple fish fillets almost.
There you go.
Now the fat and junk on them will have to be cleaned off and washed off. It's a little bloody. I told you this was a deer that was hit by a car, and it looked like it was bruised badly over here. Okay, now we're going to start taking out the backs. We're going to turn this thing around. Now this is the larger side of what the T-bone steak is. We're going to be taking out now. Along with taking this out, we're going to take the forequarters off. Right here. The forequarters of the deer, that isn't a ball and socket type joint. I don't know what the hell you call it, but it's not ball and socket. Okay, we go right down the backbone first. Now we may encounter a problem. Here again, it was hit by a car, so the damn thing may fall apart.
When it hits the ground, it's Mike's fault.
Towsy, you gotta keep your gut out of the way now, because we hate to lose weight with the
the
flame.
permanent way.
Yeah. Now you can actually feel in here. I've done this a lot, but the rib cage comes down and it turns, and you try to get right alongside there, and you go right along the backbone again. Now you start ripping this fat, because you got to take the forequarter off. Watch yourself, Jake. Now I'm taking a forequarter off. I don't know. Can you turn this just a little bit to me? You come along the rib cage again. Keep in mind, ain't attached by a ball and socket. Now I'll just let this hang here for now till I get the back out. And we'll just tell you how to do one side. Then we'll take the stuff inside the house and show you how to clean up these pieces. The 4/4 on a deer we normally just use for hamburger meat or sausage, cleaning all the fat off, all the tissue. Something else you'll notice, there's a lot of deer hair on this. You can take and use a propane torch and just go up and down and burn it off if you care to. If you got somebody patient inside the house, they can pick it off, but I'm not patient. Okay, now I cut this right across here, right by the hind quarter. Well, this is the side, if you remember on the inside, it was a little black and blue and bloody. And you can see it on this portion. These are called the chops. Now when you get up in here, you're still taking the chop out, but you're going to get neck meat, which is tough. So we'll cut it off like that. That is a nice looking piece of meat there. And it's tender. It's probably the best piece of the deer. You ready? Okay. We've taken both sides of the back out. And now I'm going to finish cutting the 4/4 off, which is no big thing. You just hack them off. Alright, I'm going to give this to Towsy to take in the garage. We're going to show you how to bone that out later. Clean it up. Take this one off.
You can give that to Sam to carry.
Yeah, the dog can carry it all right. Now, Dave, I don't know if you want to make any soup bones, but right here, your neck has to be cleaned up some because you see where we sawed it off. There's hair on it, and his throat right there. But this is dandy for soup, and you can clean a lot of meat off of it. We'll saw that off right now and keep it anyhow. Now this is strictly for soup or sausage or hamburger or whatever. That's your choice.
Hey Mike, I can't see the same sight I saw the other night.
Well, I didn't wear my plumber pants. I knew you wanted some candid shots, so I wore my bibs. Okay, we'll see if we can clean this up. You aren't going to see this on videotape. These are flanks, and they're really tough to clean. If David wants to clean them later, get all the fat and stuff off of them, he can work at that. This is good for jerky meat and all, but you got to clean all this fat and jazz off. It takes you a long time, but depends how patient and desperate you are for venison. Ooh, you can see had a little problem with the back. I'm glad I left this flank on because I'd probably drop the whole thing on the floor before we were done because of that. Now the back's coming off. There isn't anything you're really thrilled about on here, Dave, that you want to keep, so.
Give it to the birds.
Yep, well, you can see where the back was broken right there. And I saw this part off too. This operation is being closely eyed by the famous golden retriever there that is really eyeing up this stuff and shaking. She's so interested in it. But it's up to her master whether she has anything or not. Okay, now we're going to cut it, separate the hindquarters.
Mike, you really got our legs moving now.
Yeah, right. I got her excited. Okay, this is probably all you'll see from in here in the barn. We're going to take these down, maybe leave one hanging tonight. I'll saw the legs off right here, and we'll take them inside and I'll show you how to bone these things out. We'll bone out a forequarter, a hindquarter, give you an idea how to do it. Now we're going to clean up the chops. Remove the sinewy tissue. And something I'd like to mention too, when you're cleaning this up and everything, don't have your wife or anybody around if they are a little touchy about stuff like this, because it can get disgusting. You know, the butcher shop, the guy doesn't come up and sell you a steak and they have bloody hands and stuff like that. So you kind of remove the sinewy tissue, this shiny, silvery stuff. It's almost like filleting a fish. Didn't get too much of this yet. Now, if you were to leave it on, wouldn't hurt a lot, but a piece of meat's a lot more edible when you don't have that on there. And sometimes it does things to the flavor of the meat. Venison, even Illinois venison, of which we're cutting up, is a good tasting animal. And I'm not just saying that because we're from Illinois, but this is a corn state, and these things eat a lot of corn. Whereas if you get venison or deer out of Wyoming or Michigan, Wyoming tends to, the game tastes like sage because that's what they're eating. In upper Michigan, if you, or Wisconsin, both places, if you get a big buck, their winter forage is cedar. So, you know what they taste like. Illinois, they're going in cornfields that they hadn't picked, and they're pretty tasty animals. We call them government beef.
I call it free.
Well, it's free, but it's government beef. Especially roadkill.
Road pizza.
Road pizza is one that's a direct hit and run over. Okay, we pretty much got this cleaned up on this side. Let's take a look at the other side. See how it looks. Oh, there's a couple of pieces here. You want to try to remove all the fat you can because that sure doesn't taste good. And since this is somebody else's deer, I'll clean it. And we don't get too picky about a little waste here and there. All right.
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, Mike, I'm loving this.
Yeah, I'm doing it. You're
I'm
a fine photographer.
I'm
there.
sitting here drinking beer.
Well, I'm working on drinking beer. That one's sitting there. Gene's probably going to have to go back out to my truck. Now, Dave, how thick do you want your chops here?
About an inch.
About an inch, okay. This is what we do now. We just cut it like this. Nothing to it, okay? Now it's up to you on the thickness that you want it. These are great for the grill, this thickness. Cut them a little thinner, you can pan fry them. These are dandy, dandy steaks. This is the best part of this deer, in my opinion. But we'll just cut her up like that. Nothing difficult about it at all. Now when you get to this opposite end here, the thinner end, what's happening, you're coming from the hind quarter down to the neck. This has got some neck meat in it, which is tough. And you can see, this is just one piece red meat here. You'll see the seam when you start getting out of this loin or saddle or chop that we call it. You can see right here we're getting into the neck meat. I don't think I gotta show you how to wrap it. Dave's wife is gonna do some of that a little later, but we wanna basically show you how to cut this up. Now this is getting towards the end, and you can see that it's got some of the sinewy tissue. You don't want to take this off of this end because you just have little tiny strips of meat. You can use this end here for shish kebab, stir fry, whatever. Okay, that's your one side of the back of the deer. And, okay, now we're going to try to clean up this forequarter. I'd recommend taking all the fat that you can off of it. Boning the forequarter is a time-consuming process and kind of unrewarding. The forequarter in a deer isn't big enough to make much of a steak out of or anything. It's good for sausage meat, for grinding. There's a few parts we'll show you that are acceptable for
Here.
like
Up here.
cube steaks or something that they're quickly cooked and so on. Pieces like I'm cleaning up now, right here, are good for jerky meat.
Jericho?
And if anybody's got a better idea on how to make this faster, tell me, because I'd sure like to know it. Other than going to the butcher shop and getting beef or pork or whatever. Chainsaw. We almost did that one time with one. We did it with one to get the horns off. It was kind of disgusting. We had brains all over my buddy's garage.
Here.
Took a few beers before we decided the chainsaw was a good idea, but really was a mess. See, you don't want any of this stuff to, you know, not a great deal of it anyhow, to put in your hamburger. You're probably not seeing this real good, but I'm peeling all the fat off of this. Now some of the sinewy tissue, what I'm talking about sinewy tissue, it's like a stringy stuff that's on top of the meat. If you're going to grind it, the grinder will take that out. You know, you don't have to be so tidy with that, but you don't want to have the fat inside the
No.
hamburger. David's having family problems. He's punishing one of his children right now. So we're freelancing. I don't know where the camera is. Towsy don't care.
Nope.
But I'm getting all this junk out of here. And it's not real important. You don't have to see, you know, somebody just cutting his fat out. You got to remove it all. That's the point. So maybe we can turn the camera off for a while and save a little film. You don't have to see all this removal of the fat and junk, but okay now. All right, we're gonna be starting to cut this meat off of here and preparing for grinding. That's okay. See the leg? You can spot this bone right in here. Right down there. It's like a paddle. I don't know what you call it. I'm doing this for Kev. He knows all about the bones and the muscles. Blade. Yeah, it's a blade. But it's not sharp because I'd use it to cut the meat up. Now these two pieces that I'm cutting out right now could be used for steaks, quick frying steaks. But again, they're small. You gotta be careful with these knives too. Cut myself now and then and I cry and hopefully I don't have to do that now.
Just follow the bone along.
Yes. You can see this, it's a funny looking little paddle shaped bone. And don't kid yourself on some of this meat because this is okay for steaks. The rest of this, the fork quarter, is really got a lot of tendons and stuff like that in there, and it's not worth trying to make steaks out of. Unless you got people pestering you for venison that you want to give them some venison and make them think it's so bad that you don't ever want them to ask again to do that. Now here's some pieces here. You can cut the venison off, but depends on how many deer you get, how often you've had venison. You just got to skin it off like playing a piece of fish. And the fish I catch are so small that I'm kind of used to it.
Bluegill.
Well, we got these tuna up here that are in the Fox River. We got Fox River tuna. Some folks call them carps. And all I'm doing now is removing meat that we can take and grind it. Here again, depending on how much of this fat you see on there, you may want to remove it. But this is what I call the sinewy tissue. The stringy. That will come off. You'll have to clean that out of your grinder. This is fat. Fat you don't want in it. Once you get one or two deer and you butcher them or watch somebody butcher them, you'll get used to where the bones and stuff are connected and what the bones look like, and it'll be a lot easier for you to do this. You can feel the knuckle up here, and sometimes it's nice to get that out of the way. Get a piece of the bone off that just interference. Now I'm just going to really hack at this thing. This stuff is really stringy. You want no part of that and anything but hamburger or sausage meat.
I'm glad to see I use the same technique as you, Mike.
Yeah, this is, just want to get it off the bone, that's all. can see all the junk in here. All the tendons, muscles, stringy stuff. That will load up your grinder too, so you'll have to probably clean it a couple times when you're going through stuff like that. Don't go too far down on some of these pieces because you got a really nasty piece of gristle right there. Do you want me to sing or talk or anything? Then be quiet.
Don't sing.
Don't sing. There was blood upon the risers, there was brains upon his suit. His intestines were a-dangling from his paratrooper suit. He was a mess, they picked him up and poured him from his boot. And he ain't gonna jump no more. I guess I've had too many beers, huh? Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. And he ain't gonna jump no more. Well, if I jumped out of a good flying airplane today, I'd need a big parachute.
If you jumped out of a good flying airplane, you need a brain scan.
No, you don't know how them people drive them things. Now this piece you could hack around it and kind of make a roast, but it's not worth it. Too time consuming. We're pretty much done with this quarter now, so Dave can probably turn off the camera and save the juice for the hind quarter, and we'll bone that out. We'll bone it out and then have to set it in the freezer so we can cut it and show you how to cut steaks up. Okay, we're gonna bone out the hind quarter now. It's kind of a hunt and peck situation. You have to find a bone and you skin the meat from around the bone. Okay, here's some right here. You can feel it. So, you can go right around it. Independent on how you bust the pelvis, you will find different things in here as far as the bone. One side will have more and one side will have less. We go right down the middle and you should be in good shape. Now this piece of the deer is where your sirloins and your round steaks come from. Sirloins are very small. Your round steaks are whatever the size of the deer is. And we'll go as far as showing how to wrap it for cutting round steaks. I normally tie it up so that I can set it in the freezer and the meat will be firm enough, not frozen, but firm. If you leave it in there too long, you're screwed because it won't be able to cut it. Okay, we got that side. We roll it over when you drop a piece of meat on the floor, it's really going into a box where stuff to be ground goes.
Sure, how come the dog's coming over there eating it?
Dog's my friend. Keep him friendly so he doesn't chew my leg off. Okay, now if you remember the 4-quarter, it wasn't a ball and socket joint. This one is. And I'm working down to one of the joints, and there's no way you can see this. I'm keeping it a secret too. You'll feel the joint, and there's little tendons and stuff around it you gotta kind of cut off, and then you get this bone off. What the hell the bone's called, I don't know, hip bone or pelvis or what, but it's bone. Normally during hunting season, we aren't doing this in a family's kitchen. We're doing it in the garage at a rifle range, and we invite all our friends. And as a rule, they bring a case of beer, a bottle of Yukon Jack, some root beer schnapps. By the end of the day, we have the deer cut up. We don't know which piece is which, and we don't care. But we count our fingers the next day to see that we have them all. Okay, I've blown this out. I don't know if you can see the knuckle here. Now I'm going to try to find the bone as it goes down the leg. I'm going to make a slice, and the bone around that, and take the meat off. I'm going up towards the knee here, and below this point there's a lot of muscle and tendons and stuff. So I'm going to cut this right here, and it looks like it also had been bruised. You can see the red meat here, and that won't hurt any. Sometimes it tastes a little livery when you're eating it, but because it's bruised, it won't hurt it.
No.
Here again, the foreleg. Don't consider doing anything with that other than grinding sausage or hamburger or whatever. But if you're tough like cows, and then you just pick it up, eat it raw, chew on it. Might even leave the bone on it. Right, Heather? Oh, no. Okay. also nice to have sharp knives. I don't think this one's very sharp. Those we're going to use for coyote bait.
Not a piece of the deer goes to waste.
No. Believe me, we'll put it out there tonight and the rest of it will be gone. Okay, now we've got this boned out. And this part of the deer you can use for round steaks. What I normally do, if I'm cutting round steaks, is tie it up. If you looked at a rolled roast or something, you tie it up. And once I set it in the freezer, it'll be firm enough in a few hours that I can take a long bladed knife and cut right across here. If you're going to cut roasts, you can just take this piece right here and cut it off. Right there is a roast. You'll have to do more cleaning on it. There's a little bit of fat here yet. Same thing with this, depending on the size of the roast you want. But end the roast cut right here, above what was the knee. This is very, very tough in this area. You can see all the tendons and stuff from the bottom leg. Foreleg or whatever you call that. So short of that, we're about done with this. And or whatever. Kel, if we've done this for you, if you got any questions, give me a call. Don't call after 9 o'clock because you know I'll be sleeping. That's okay. We've trimmed this up a little bit more. This is the upper half of that hind quarter that we just boned out. Now we're cutting this for Dave Nolan, and they don't prefer to cut this into round steaks. Like I say, a round steak you'd cut like this. They wanted roast, so we've separated this. Here's one roast, and here's another. Now what I do with the roast that I use, I take this section, not at this time, but when I go to use it, I make a slit approximately in the middle, and I lay whatever bacon laid flat will fit in there. We usually like Italian seasoning, some cloves of garlic sliced and put in there, and then wrapped. And then we cook it. We can, when you cook it, sometimes bacon on the top is good because we have removed all the fat off the venison. The venison fat doesn't taste good. This still needs some cleaning up. This is fatty stuff and all, but and this is the same thing. This is the bigger side. If you wanted roast and steak, you could use this for a roast and still cut this into steaks. And this one should be trimmed off here anyhow, and Dave wants to use this meat for hamburger, so we'll do that for him right now. And there, you know, the hamburger grinding is going to be a little time consuming because you got to remove the unwanted portions, something that's a little bloody or bruised or full of fat. But that's basically what you gotta do, and then enjoy. If you need any information on the markets I take this stuff to, I'd be glad to give it to you, but since you're down south and it's warm, I don't think the meat would survive coming up here to get sausage made. You might have to look into it down south. That's that. This is it. 2 aspirins, Alka-Seltzer, another beer, and we're off to another day.
This program was brought to you by Old Style, Old Milwaukee, Rainier.
And Death Valley Rifle Range.
Thank you.